Hello, P4 students. How are you doing? Welcome back to Science Lessons Harapan Prestasi Primary School with me, Miss Rosa. Today we are going to continue our discussion in Unit 1, Solids, Liquids, and Gases. We are focusing on can matter change in state? So are you ready for the lesson? Let's start. I will tell you the learning objectives for this topic. First, you will investigate how substances can change the state when they gain or lose heat. Next, observe and recognize these changes in state: melting, boiling, condensation, and freezing. Last but not least, recognize that freezing is the reverse of melting. You also learn vocabulary such as temperature, thermometer, heat, melt, melting, melting point, bubbles, boil, boiling point, boiling, condensed, condensation, freeze, freezing, freezing point. Matter such as water can exist in the solid, liquid, and gaseous states. Now look at this picture. The first one in the air. Water vapor in the air is the water in the gaseous state. Now look at the lake here. The water here is the liquid state. And look at the snow on the leaves here. Ice and snow are water in the solid state. So how can ice and snow change to the liquid state? How can liquid water change to the solid or gas state? A substance can change in state when it gains heat or loses heat. Now, let's discuss the first point. What happens when matter gains heat? What happens when we leave an ice cube in a warm room? Yes, you're right. The ice cube melts and changes into liquid after some time. When ice is placed in a warm room, it gains heat from its warmer surroundings and its temperature rises. When its temperature reaches 0 degrees Celsius, it starts to melt and changes into liquid water. When a solid changes into a liquid, the process is called melting. The temperature at which a solid melts is called melting point. So, once again, solid that gains heat becomes liquid. The process, we call it melting. Different solids have different melting points. First, this candle. Candle wax is a solid at room temperature. It has higher melting point than ice. But how about this one? Molten rock. Yes, molten rock has a very high temperature. It's found inside the earth. It rises to the surface of the earth when volcanoes erupt. When liquid water is heated until it's hot enough, bubbles form throughout the water. So, what do these bubbles contain? Yes, you're right. The bubbles contain water in the gaseous state. When liquid water is heated, it gains heat and its temperature rises. When its temperature reaches 100 degrees Celsius, it starts to boil and changes into steam. Steam is the gaseous state of water. The temperature at which a liquid boils is called its boiling point. When liquid changes into a gas at its boiling point, the process is called boiling. So the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. Once again, liquid that gains heat, it becomes gas. And the process, we call it boiling. Now let's move on to the second point. What happens when matter loses heat? Look at the lid of this pot of boiling water. Where do the water droplets on the inner surface of the lid come from? I will tell you the process. When water boils, it changes into steam. Steam has a higher temperature than the pot lid. When the steam touches the cooler inner surface of the pot lid, it loses heat and its temperature decreases. Therefore, you can see mist. The steam cools and changes back into liquid water. We say that the steam has condensed. When a gas changes into a liquid, the process is called condensation. Once again, when gas loses heat into liquid, it's called condensation. Next is freezing. I pour some flavored water into molds and leaves in a freezer. After some time, the flavored water freezes and I get ice lollies here. What happened? I will tell you the process. When the flavored water in the molds is placed in the freezer, It loses heat in the colder surroundings in the freezers and cools down. When its temperature drops to its freezing point, it starts to freeze and changes into a solid. And when a liquid changes into a solid, the process is called freezing. The temperature at which liquid freezes is called its freezing point. So, the freezing point of water is 0 degrees Celsius. Once again, I can conclude that liquid that loses heat, it becomes solid. We call it the process freezing. Is my explanation clear? Now, let's recap what you have learned. First, a substance can change in state when it gains heat or loses heat. And then, let's talk about the process. Solid gains heat, it becomes a liquid. The process is melting. The temperature at which a solid melts is called melting point. Next, liquid gains heat, it becomes a gas. The process is boiling. The temperature at which a liquid boils is called its boiling point. Next, gas that loses heat, it becomes a liquid. A change of gas into a liquid is called condensation. And then, liquid loses heat, it becomes a solid. The change of liquid into a solid is freezing. The temperature at which a liquid freezes called its freezing point. Okay, this is the end of our lesson today. Thank you for watching my explanation until the end. So, be happy, stay healthy. See you again on the next lesson. Bye!